Today we're discussing underground farming in 7 Days to Die. Now we've got a lot of info to cover and no time to waste, so let's get to it. Plants are one of the most important resources in 7 Days to Die, and thankfully this game gives you the ability to grow your own plants. With a handful of farm plots and seeds, you can create yourself a nice little outdoor garden, which will allow you to grow all the plants that you would ever need. However, above ground farms can be a little problematic. In single player worlds, above ground farms are right out in the open, meaning any zombie jerk that strolls by can potentially damage or destroy your garden. And in multiplayer worlds, having your garden out in the open like this makes it a prime target to be ransacked by your not so nice neighbors. But ladies and gentlemen, there is a way to grow those crops, yet keep them safe from the zombie jerks and hidden from other players. And of course, I'm talking about underground farming. Now, while it is true that most underground builds in the current version of 7 Days to Die are not nearly as practical or effective as they used to be, the underground farm is not one of them. Plus, let's face it, folks, underground builds are just a lot of fun. So let's get right to it and start off with the build itself. The first thing you want to do is find a nice secluded spot to start your build. This looks pretty good. Now you want to start digging. We are going to dig directly down until we reach bedrock. Once you reach bedrock, you want to go ahead and dig out a big room like this one. This room here is 16 by 16 by 4 blocks. So it's 16 blocks wide, 16 blocks long, and 4 blocks high. Now the reason you want to make sure you dig at least 4 blocks high is because you have to leave 1 block for the farm plot, and then you have to leave enough blocks above the farm plot for your plants to grow. Corn is the highest plant in the game, and it requires 3 blocks in order to fully grow. So if you make your room at least 4 blocks high, you're set, good to go. Now that we have our sky tunnel dug and our big room at the bottom dug out, it's time to go ahead and drop down some farm plots. And you want to place them down in a diamond formation. So starting from the center block, or the block directly below our tunnel, we are going to go out 7 additional farm plots in each of the cardinal directions. Then we will connect them diagonally and fill in the spaces. This little diamond formation here contains 113 plots, all of which have the capacity to grow plants. Once you have your farm plots down, all you have to do is start planting them seeds. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, 113 farm plots, all growing plants fed by a single block of light. And this farm is set at bedrock. Now you will want to dig yourself a tunnel leading into the underground farm and connect that tunnel up to your home base in some way. However, I'm going to leave that part of the build up to you folks. There is one more thing that we do need to cover before we call this underground farm complete, and that is the fact that there is still a 1 block tunnel leading all the way from the surface all the way down to our underground farm. If a zombie jerk happens to stumble in that hole, they will fall down into your farm and you could be in a lot of trouble. So we need to go ahead and head back to ground level and get that hole covered up. Now for single player worlds, I would highly recommend using the simple iron bar. Just go to advanced rotation, rotate the bar so it's sitting on top of the block, plop it down right here, and your hole is completely covered. Yet it will still allow the light to pass through the tunnel. Now any zombie jerk that happens to be stumbling through the area, they will not fall down the tunnel into your farm. Now the iron bar is only one example of a block that you can use to cover this hole that will still let light through. If you ever have a question on whether or not a certain block type will allow light to go through, just take a look at the stats for that block and look for this bar right here that says light opacity. If that number is 0, then yes, it will allow light through and you're good to go to use that as your covering block. Now for multiplayer servers, you may want to try to disguise that light hole just a little bit better than slapping down some iron bars. And one of the more unique blocks that has a light opacity rating of 0, believe it or not, is cars. So if you dig your light tunnel directly below a car, that can be a great way to hide that tunnel from other players on the server. It's a lot more difficult to spot because it is underneath a car. Now you can't get it exactly centered under the car, but from a distance, you would not even know that it is there. So kind of a rather unique cover block for sure, but it can make for a very interesting disguise. Sadly, in 7 Days to Die, underground builds are not nearly as practical or effective as they once were. However, the same cannot be said about the underground farm. I personally find the underground farm highly practical and highly effective. By utilizing the underground farming build, you will be able to safeguard your farm from zombie jerks as well as other players. The underground farm gives you the ability to grow a whole bunch of crops with a single block of light. Plus, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, underground builds can be a whole lot of fun. Now, maybe it's just nostalgia, thinking back to the old days on PS4 where underground builds were the best, but I personally absolutely love the underground farm. Now, if you'd like to learn more about farming and other survival aspects in 7 Days to Die, click the box in the top right corner of the screen to access my survival tutorials playlist. But for now, this is Saven saying thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll catch you in the next one.